Okay, hey, I'm Mr. Lewis. Mrs. Lewis and I are here in Boston this week, and so we wanted to, give you a little insight into some of the things that we're doing and what we're seeing. Right now, we're in the Dorchester neighborhood of Boston, and you can see Boston proper. We're just over this way, overlooking downtown over that way. Of course, this Dorchester area is significant, especially back in 1776, because it was here on the sixth anniversary of the Boston Massacre that George Washington placed the guns that Henry Knox had gotten from Fort Ticonderoga, set them up at Dorchester Heights. Uh, Aimed them at the British ships in the harbor. This was, of course, during the siege of Boston, after Lexington and Concord, after the Battle of Bunker Hill, and soon after George Washington, of course, had taken over as the commander, and the siege of Boston had been dragging on and on. And he put those guns from Fort Ticonderoga up here at the Dorchester area, Dorchester Heights. And this is what forces, of course, the British to leave Boston. But there's one other extremely important thing that we are seeing here in the Dorchester area, and that, of course, is the JFK Library. This is one of the several libraries in honor of former presidents. Every modern president, going all the way back to Herbert Hoover, has had a library made in the years after he has left office, other than FDR, who was the first one. He was technically still in office, and when he started the whole trend of these presidential libraries. And they're not just a place, um, a library per se. It's more of a museum and a place for archives. And in fact, it's run by the National Archives and Records Administration here in the United States. The JFK Library, by the way, was amazing. We just finished up in there. You've got so many fascinating exhibits and things to see in there. Definitely worth your time. Some of my favorite things were about the 1960 presidential election with Richard Nixon. There was a lot on the campaign and how it was so different and how TV had become such a big part of it. Some of those were the most interesting, I thought, parts of it. There were some great things about civil rights, about visits to Latin America. Of course, there's a chunk of the Berlin Wall there, as there should be. Ich bin ein Berliner. And there's, of course, some really interesting stuff from the space race that you can see there. Kennedy's presidency was, of course, short, but extremely eventful, such a pivotal time in our history when you think about the civil rights movement and you think about the Cold War. It's all kind of happening at once in those few short years that Kennedy was in office. So when you come to Boston, take some time to come over here to Dorchester and check out the JFK Library.